The Garden of Stillness, calm bedtime story for inner peace and mindfulness. The Garden of Stillness, calm storytelling. Part 1. The Whispering Wind. In a quiet valley, where the hills rolled like soft waves and the trees stood still like statues, there was a little garden known only to a few. It was called the Garden of Stillness, and it was said that those who walked through its paths would feel their hearts slow down and their minds grow quiet. Each morning, the wind would whisper gently through the leaves, not to disturb, but to soothe. The birds did not sing loudly here. They cooed, hummed, and let their songs float like feathers in the air. In this garden lived a kind old turtle named Miro. Miro had lived a very long time. He moved slowly, not because he was old, but because he believed that every step was important. Every step was a moment, and every moment was a chance to breathe. Children from nearby villages would sometimes visit Miro to listen to his stories. But today, only one little visitor had come, a quiet fox cub named Luma. Her ears were drooped, and her eyes looked tired. "Why are you sad, little one?" Miro asked in his soft, warm voice. Luma looked at the turtle and said, "I think too much, and my thoughts are loud. Even when I try to sleep, they keep talking." Miro nodded slowly. "Then come," he said. "Let's take a walk through the Garden of Stillness, and with each step, we will listen not to your thoughts, but to the world outside them." So they began their gentle walk. Step by step they moved. The path beneath them was soft with moss. Luma looked at the trees. She noticed how they didn't rush to grow. They just stood tall and peaceful. She noticed a butterfly landing on a stone, not fluttering away, but simply resting. Miro whispered, "The world is not in a hurry, little one, and you don't need to be either." Luma took a deep breath. For the first time in a long while, she didn't feel like she needed to think. She only needed to walk and listen. And so they walked deeper into the calm, the Garden of Stillness. Calm storytelling. Part 2. The Breathing Leaves. As Miro and Luma walked further into the garden, the sunlight slipped quietly through the trees. It did not blaze or burn. It only touched the leaves with a soft glow, like a quiet smile. Luma's breathing began to slow, matching the slow, steady rhythm of Miro's steps. They didn't speak, for there was no rush for words. Instead, they listened. A breeze passed through the branches above, and the leaves began to move, not wildly, not noisily, but in the gentlest way. They shimmered and sighed together, almost as if they were breathing. Luma stopped and looked up. "The leaves," she whispered. "They're breathing." Miro smiled. "Yes," he said. "Everything in this garden breathes. The trees, the air, the earth. And you, do you want to breathe with them?" Luma nodded. Miro closed his eyes and said softly, "Breathe in, like the leaves filling with wind. Hold it gently. Then breathe out, like the leaves letting go." Luma followed. Inhale, hold, exhale. They breathed together. The garden breathed with them. And something happened. Luma didn't notice the thoughts as much anymore. They were still there, but quieter now, softer, like distant ripples on a calm pond. As they sat under the breathing trees, a small bird landed near them. It didn't chirp or flutter. It simply rested. Its feathers puffed up slightly as it, too, breathed gently. "This is the way of peace," Miro said. "It's not about stopping every thought. It's about learning to sit with them, like we sit beside this bird. Quietly, kindly, without fear." Luma looked at the bird. It blinked once, slowly, then tucked its head under its wing. For the first time, she smiled. And Miro said, "When your thoughts come again, and they will, you can remember this moment. The breathing leaves, the resting bird, the stillness that lives inside you too." Luma lay down on the moss. The ground was soft and cool. The breeze was like a blanket. She closed her eyes, and even though it was daytime, sleep began to find her, and the garden watched over her gently, like a lullaby with no sound. The Garden of Stillness. Calm Storytelling, Part 3. The Dream of the Quiet Pond. Luma slept soundly beneath the trees, her body curled softly against the moss. As she slept, the wind continued to whisper, and the garden wrapped her in a gentle hush. In her dream, Luma found herself standing beside a quiet pond. The surface of the water was smooth, like a piece of glass, reflecting the sky above and the trees around it. The air was cool and still, as if the whole world were pausing to listen. A soft ripple touched the water's edge, and from it came a voice, calm and clear, like the sound of morning rain. "Hello, little fox. Luma looked around and saw a graceful heron standing in the shallow water. Its long legs were still, and its feathers moved only slightly with the breeze. Its eyes were peaceful and kind. "Who are you?" Luma asked in her dream voice. "I am Miro," said the heron. "I live in the heart of the Garden of Stillness. You are dreaming now, but this pond is part of your heart too. Would you like to see how stillness feels on the inside?" Luma nodded. Mira gently dipped her beak into the pond, sending small ripples across the surface. "Sometimes," she said, "our minds are like water. Thoughts drop in like pebbles, and the water becomes busy. But if we stop tossing pebbles and just breathe, the ripples slow, and soon the surface becomes clear again." Luma looked down at her reflection in the pond. At first, it was blurry, like a memory she couldn't quite catch. But as she stood quietly, breathing with Mira, the reflection became clear. Her soft fur, her curious eyes, her gentle smile. She looked peaceful. "You carry this pond inside you," Mira said. "When your thoughts begin to stir, you can visit it just by closing your eyes, just by breathing, and just by being kind to yourself." Luma sat beside the pond. No need to move, no need to rush. The air was still, the heron stood watch, and the water reflected her calm heart. And then, slowly, she began to wake. Back in the garden, Luma opened her eyes. Miro was still beside her, watching the leaves. "Did you dream?" he asked gently. "Yes," Luma whispered. "I found a pond inside me." Miro nodded. "Then you are learning the way of stillness." The wind passed once more, soft as a sigh, and the two sat there, not needing to speak, just listening to the peace within and around them. The Garden of Stillness. Calm Storytelling, Part 4. The Tree That Listens. The sun had begun its slow drift toward the hills, and golden light stretched long shadows across the garden. Luma and Miro continued their quiet journey, their footsteps soft on the earth. "Where are we going now?" Luma asked, her voice hushed. Miro smiled. "To visit an old friend, someone who has been still longer than even I." They walked until they reached a wide clearing where a single great tree stood tall and quiet. Its roots curled gently over the earth like resting arms, and its branches stretched high into the sky. "This," said Miro, is the tree that listens. Luma looked up. The tree did not move. It did not speak, but it felt alive, deeply alive, as though it carried 1,000 peaceful stories in its bark. Miro stepped close and placed a foot upon a thick root. You may tell this tree anything, and it will not judge. It will not hurry you. It will only listen. Luma looked unsure. What if I don't know what to say? Miro nodded slowly. Then say nothing. Sometimes silence is the truest thing we can share. So Luma sat by the tree. She closed her eyes. She thought about her busy thoughts, her restless feelings. She didn't push them away, but she didn't chase them either. She just let them come and go, like clouds drifting across the sky. Then, very softly, she began to speak, not loudly, not in a rush. Just a few words. I get scared sometimes. I feel small. I want to be calm, but I don't always know how. She stopped. The tree didn't respond, but it didn't turn away either. It simply stood, steady, open, and kind. And in the quiet, Luma began to feel something strange, something comforting. It was the feeling of being heard. No advice, no fixing, just the warm knowing that her feelings were held in stillness, like a pond holds the sky. A breeze brushed through the branches, and a single leaf floated down, landing beside her. Miro spoke gently. The tree offers you a gift, a reminder. You are not alone with your feelings. You are allowed to feel them and let them go. Luma picked up the leaf and held it gently in her paw, and she whispered, "Thank you." The sun dipped lower, and shadows lengthened like soft blankets across the ground. The day was ending, but the peace within Luma was just beginning. The Garden of Stillness. Calm Storytelling. Part 5. Nightfall and the Lantern of Light. As the sun disappeared behind the hills, a gentle twilight settled over the Garden of Stillness. The birds grew quiet, the leaves rested, and the sky began to wrap the world in a soft blanket of stars. Luma and Miro sat beneath the tree that listens, watching the sky slowly darken. "It's beautiful," Luma whispered. "Yes," Miro replied. "Even the night has its own kind of peace." Luma looked around. The garden, once glowing with sunlight, was now shaded and dim. But it wasn't scary. It felt like the world was closing its eyes, preparing for a gentle sleep. I used to be afraid of the dark, Luma admitted. That's okay, Miro said. Darkness doesn't always mean fear. Sometimes it means rest, stillness, a place where we can see the light inside us more clearly. Just then, a small golden glow appeared among the bushes. Luma tilted her head. "What's that?" Miro smiled. "Let's go and see." They walked slowly toward the light. As they came closer, they saw a tiny mouse holding a small lantern. The lantern glowed warmly, like the sun had left a little piece of itself behind. The mouse looked up and bowed politely. "Good evening. My name is Pina." "Hello, Pina," Luma said kindly. "Your lantern is beautiful." "Thank you," said Pina. "I carry it each night to remind myself and others that even when the world is dark, we can still shine. The light inside us never goes out. Sometimes we just have to remember it's there." Luma sat down beside the mouse, drawn to the calm light. It didn't shine too bright. It didn't flicker. It just glowed, steadily, like a breath held gently in the chest. "Would you like to carry it for a while?" Pina asked. Luma's eyes widened. "Can I?" "Of course," Pina said. "Everyone has light. You're simply holding it now." Luma took the lantern carefully in her paws. Its warmth spread up her arms and into her chest. It wasn't hot, just comforting, like a gentle hug. Miro nodded. "You see, Luma, even in the night, there is peace. Even in the dark, there is kindness. And you are part of that light." Luma closed her eyes for a moment, holding the lantern to her heart. She breathed in deeply and breathed out slowly, and the world around her breathed with her. The garden, the trees, the breeze, and even the stars. All were still, all were calm, all were quiet. As night deepened, Pina guided them to a resting spot beneath a leafy shelter. The lantern sat beside them, glowing softly as Luma curled into sleep. Miro whispered, "May your dreams be gentle, little one. You have found the light, and it will always find you again."